is potentially some severe cuts to Medicaid. So as a critical access hospital, as a rural hospital, we have to think about how much Medicaid do we have.
Unlike many rural hospitals in other parts of the state and country, Skowron notes they don't rely on Medicaid as much as other places, but it would still be a potential reduction in revenue if passed.
We are fortunate. I've always called us rural light in that we are right in between the towns that have employers that a lot of residents from DeWitt County go to. So the employers like the state farms and the large employers, the university in Bloomington Normal, the employers in Decatur, the Springfield, Champaign, and so forth. We're right in the middle of all that. And therefore, we've got a lot of residents with good insurance, not Medicaid. So we are about 20% Medicaid on the average as the year goes. There are many smaller rural healthcare hospitals in southern Illinois. Let's just say, use a line and say south of the St. Louis area, that only have a couple of large employers. So they have a 50% on average Medicaid population. So they're really concerned about how these potentially severe Medicaid cuts are going to hit them. We've calculated at this point, with what we know, that there would be about a 3% reduction in our bottom line, in our profit, if the existing Medicaid cuts were to be enacted.
According to Skowron, Medicaid is a funding match program through the federal government. Because Illinois relies on those dollars more so than other states, it's very concerning for many communities.
Yes, and that's where states like Illinois are more concerned than some that did not access all of the federal government's subsidies, but Illinois did, and we took on all the new Medicaid patients that we could in the past 4, 8, 12 years, ever since Obama legislation. And that was good as long as the federal government was providing 55% subsidies to giving more people access to health care. But now with their clear intention to reduce the federal budget and hopefully, reduce their deficits, they're looking at these kind of programs and saying, we're going to cut back on them. And cutting back over time is good, but some of them would like to do it like in 1 year. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're concerned about severe cuts and reducing access to care for people.
While Trump has put a deadline of July 4th on passing his spending plan, Skowron notes the budget does not have to be passed until the fall. And while lawmakers look towards the Trump-imposed deadline, Skowron indicates they are continuing to advocate to avoid the cuts to Medicaid.
Yes, we did urge our congressmen, both in the federal government and in the state. As a matter of fact, our new mayor, Helen Michalasi, has just recently met with some of the state reps, Bill Hodder and Ms. Turner and so forth, and talked about many things from a city perspective. But she's also emphasized concern about any Medicaid cuts, and anything they can do to help us would be appreciated.
Yeah, sure.
So we appreciate her hitting the ground running as the new mayor. And so every constituency, and we're in healthcare, has to advocate for themselves as strongly as they can. President Trump and House Speaker Johnson had, their self-imposed July 4th, they were hoping to have a bill done by then. Highly unlikely, but it does give them the next month or 2 months to get it done, but they want to get it done sooner than later.
Skowron is hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. As we embark on the second biggest holiday of the summer, the 4th of July, local law enforcement is encouraging residents to be respectful of the people around them. Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers admits that with the upcoming 3-day weekend for the 4th of July, the fun will be in abundance, and he is encouraging being mindful of the people around you.
You're talking about the outdoor gathering, being respectful of your neighbors. And it's not only easier to be respectful of your neighbors, but it's also easier to address an issue if you have a good relationship and a good rapport with that neighbor. it never ceases to amaze me. Obviously, that's what we do, and that's what we're there for, to answer citizen complaints and things. But when the police have to get involved in a neighbor dispute or a neighbor issue, that is seldom ever going to enhance the relationship between two neighbors. Starting off in the beginning of just getting to know your neighbor and developing a mutual respect and whatnot is certainly going to help if there ever are issues in the future. And the ability to just sit down and talk to people or address problems respectfully up front without law enforcement interaction is probably going to be the better way to go any time that's a possibility. But yeah, just being respectful of each other, but also, looking out for each other.
With the summer in full swing, Chief Flowers reminds to continue to be vigilant in locking vehicle doors, garage doors, and home doors. He says while the issues of burglary seem to be down, the risk is always there.
We seem to talk about this every year, especially at the beginning of summer. Just a lot more going on, a lot more pedestrian traffic of all times of day and night. But, not only securing your own property, we've talked about those things in the past of securing your property. For crying out loud, please lock your car doors. Not as much. It kind of goes in spurts. We kind of go through different trends where we might have a rash of car burglaries for a little while, and then we don't. Knock on wood, right now, I don't think that's been a huge trend. But again, I'd like to believe that maybe that's because people are locking their car doors better. I'm not sure, but that's one of them for sure, is locking those car doors, locking those outdoor sheds, garages, things of that nature, just to minimize the opportunity of becoming a victim of a theft. So that, motion lights are always a good thing, but yes, right back to not only looking out for your own things, but looking out for your neighbors as well. And that's so much easier to do when we introduce ourselves, we get to know each other,
With the holiday falling on a Friday, authorities anticipate pyrotechnics to be going off regularly throughout the weekend. They're encouraging the safe use of those and will use enforcement when necessary. We'll have more on that later this week on Regional Radio. Community Action is providing developmental care for young children through its Head Start program. Chrissy Conklin from Community Action indicates many people think the Head Start program is daycare. However, that's not entirely the case. While there are some similarities, she says the biggest difference lies in the curriculum and schedule.
So Medicaid is our specific.
Just actually had our self-assessment this past week and lots of excellent discussion. It was great. Had 25 people participating in it. So that was awesome.
Cool.
And amidst that, we talk about some concerns and some barriers that we can maybe change and sometimes we can't. Maybe they're out of our control, a regulation or a statute change, something like that. And as I was just kind of processing all of the conversations and everything, something that kind of stuck out was, Head Start is not a daycare. And so that seems to be kind of a myth, if you will, that Head Start is a daycare, and it's not. So like some of the differences between, for example, a daycare, what you think of, and Head Start is, yes, we both need to follow very rigorous DCFS standards. Like that's definitely have to do that. But something that's different is curriculum. We have to have a curriculum and we have to have a set schedule. We have to have outdoor play, gross motor time. So using big muscles, small group time, literacy, language, math. We have to have all of that regularly. Every day, just like you think of a preschool, it's now actually called Head Start Preschool by the program performance standards. So we have to have curriculum. In addition to DCFS, we also have to follow IDEA, so Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So we have to do that too. And that obviously helps our kids when they need it.
Because of the program's affiliation with Community Action, Conklin explains Head Start also supports the families of the children they care for. This could be through things like financial stability or fighting addiction.
We also, because we're part of Community Action, and Capsule and all of those services and programs within that, we help the family. Like it's not just helping the child, but it's helping the family if they need to find a job or financial stability, or they really want to purchase a car or a house, or maybe they're struggling with some domestic violence, or, they're struggling with addiction. We can help them with that. So that's something additional and different that, daycares can't always or don't have the equipment or the manpower to do. Head Start is completely federal based, federal funding. So there's lots going on within just the news and everything about Head Start. It is completely federal based. It is one of the very few programs that comes straight from the federal government to the grantees, to the agencies.
Before sending kids to Head Start, they do need to qualify for the program. Conklin notes the main focus of Head Start and community action is supporting low-income families.
So there are some eligibility requirements. The main focus when Head Start started just a little bit over 60 years ago. We just had our 60th birthday in the United States. So that's really awesome. Hopefully there's 60 more years. But as far as eligibility goes, the main focus and the creation of Head Start was based upon helping low-income families. So that is the main focus for that. Foster families, children that are homeless. That is the focus. But we do take families, and we can take families that are considered over income. So over the federal poverty guidelines. It's not a large percent, but we can do that.
Conklin says children in the program do not learn just the academics that will prepare them for school, but they also learn social and emotional skills.
So actually, that is also a huge, huge piece of Head Start. So if you think about the words Head Start, is to give them a literal head start in working towards what you just said. So school readiness and getting them ready to enter kindergarten with the social, emotional, the literacy, language skills that they need to help them in kindergarten and beyond. We hear a lot about like Head Start as a daycare, even some families, or whether they're in the program or not, like, oh, they're going to daycare today. And it's not. It is a preschool setup. I mean, it is very rigorous curriculum, standards, education, all of that. We also, as far as nutrition goes, we need to follow CACFP. So that's from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Schools have to abide by that too. It's the same. They have to have whole grain. They have to have vegetables and fruits. It's the same program. We have to abide by that. We get monitored. And so that's something else that we do too.
If you're interested in early childhood education for your child or any other programs offered through Community Action, visit capsule.info. Another good year for ag education in Illinois. Jennifer Waters is the coordinator for facilitating coordination in ag education.
Looking at numbers, wrapping things up, we have 393 agriculture education programs here in the state of Illinois. That number continues to rise each year. And those programs are led by 564 teachers. So we have 564 ag teachers in Illinois, and that number just continues to rise. Off air, we were talking this year, we're adding an additional 10 new programs for the coming year here in Illinois. So just continues to grow, continue to see interest by students and communities for ag education. And what's interesting is this past year, our membership was at 41,937 students taking agriculture classes, which is huge. But of that, what really shocked me was 7,876 of those people are middle school students.
Of the 10 new ag programs being added next school year, 7 are at the middle school level. News time, 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 64-year-old Randy L. Livingood of Maroa passed away June 27th at his family residence in Maroa. A massive Christian burial for 64-year-old Randy L. Livingood will be at 1 p.m. Wednesday, July 2nd at St. John Baptist Catholic Church in Clinton with Father Thomas Cizilic officiating. Burial will follow at South Macon Township Cemetery in Macon. The visitation will be from 11 to 1 p.m. Wednesday at the church. The family has entrusted Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton with arrangements. Memorials can be directed to St. John the Baptist Catholic Church. 84-year-old Charles Chuck Smith Jr. passed away June 26th. Masonic services for 84-year-old Charles Chuck Smith Jr. by graveside service will be 10 a.m. Tuesday, July 1st at Memorial Park Cemetery in Clinton, with Pastor Daryl Howard officiating. The family has entrusted Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton with arrangements. Memorials can be directed to the American Red Cross or Shriners Hospital for Children. Get news anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWitt Daily News.